It's Lynn, your adult coach. I help autistic young adults and their families systemize adulting together. Today's struggle comes from the Facebook page Parents of Adults, Children with Asperger's. And our mom has an 18-year-old daughter who's happy at home and not taking steps towards creating a life she loves or independence. Let's look at her thoughts, the mom's thoughts. She shares that she had a horrible experience at school, that her daughter has OCD, anxiety, and health challenges. She finds that pushing her results in shutting down and regression. When they toured the local community college, the daughter said, "That was cool, but you aren't making me go, are you?" So the mom asked, "Should I just calm down and continue to hope something will catch her interest enough one day?" She does have her permit and can drive, but driving scares her. "I keep hoping that in time she'll want to try that again." Should I be looking at SSDI, SSI for her? I'm so confused. I want to be doing all I can to help her lead a fulfilling life, but it's so hard knowing what to do. Yeah, I get this. And this is a struggle for sure. We're caught up in a lot of looping thoughts that are just creating confusion. And the sentence, "I don't know," keeps coming up. So let's understand what's happening. First, with both mom and daughter, our limbic system is what triggers the fight or flight or freeze response. And because our autistic young adults have autistic brains, they tend to, not always, but in the majority of cases, have sort of hyper aroused limbic systems. They are constantly scanning the environment for what's going wrong with their life and what's going wrong with themselves, which produces a lot of anxiety and always has. I mean, if you look back in their life, you can see that anxiety has played a role. And as Barb Avila says in her book, Seeing Autism, there's a cascading effect that happens as a result of that anxiety, and the impact is on their ability to learn. It's very hard to learn when we're in a heightened, anxious state. So there's just been a number of opportunities to learn that that a non-autistic child would have had an opportunity, would have learned from, but our autistic child hasn't yet. So you'll hear often that they're 5 years, emotionally behind, or 10 years, or 7. No one knows the numbers because it's very individual, but there's definitely been an impact on how much learning has taken place on some of the skills that a non autistic person may have picked up on already. In addition to that, as moms, it is so instinctual and important to us to protect our children. So, what has happened to us is that we have gone into fight, flight, or freeze often with our autistic young adults because we want to protect them. We don't want bad things to happen. And so, our own reaction has been heightened as well as we watch the struggles that our autistic young adults are experiencing. And we think we don't know what to do because it's maybe not similar enough to our own experience as a child, as growing up, or maybe it is similar and we still don't know what to do. And I would like to suggest that we need to tap into what's happening with our own mindset first. So I suggest that we connect with ourselves and also with our autistic young adult, trying to uncover what are some of the thoughts that are driving what's happening in our lives right now. And there's, 60, 70,000 a day. So there's plenty of them. And most of them are just fine. 99% of them can just keep on being automatically offered to us. But there is about 1% of them, and that's, a good out of 70,000, 1% is 700. I mean, there's quite a few thoughts that just may not be serving us, may not be getting us what we want, in terms of our feeling that creates the action that's going to create the life that we love, that works. So let's take a moment and just go back to her thinking. I mean, that was a fantastic thought download, which is always the first step. And she said it provided her some relief at the end. And I understand that. That happens with me whenever I get all those spinning thoughts down somewhere, recorded somewhere, that where I can distance a little bit from them. I'm not as attached to them that way, and I can actually look at them. So bravo to our mom for taking the time to look at them. And let's go back to a couple of them. And well, let's first look at the steer mapping process, which is the core of mindset management. This is how we manage our mind so that it does produce the emotions that fuel the actions that we need to take in order to create the results that we want in our life. Let's go to the very first part, though, and separate the facts from the story. What is the situation? Let's go back up here and look. She had a horrible experience at school. Is that a fact or is that a thought? I would suggest that's a thought. She has OCD, anxiety, and health challenges. The health challenges, there's no question. The way that she describes some of the things that her daughter has to do every day as a result of her health challenges sound indeed challenging, and they are going to impact her energy levels. Okay, we know that. In terms of the OCD and the anxiety, I guess those are diagnoses. Sometimes I just want us to pause and notice that those are labels of behaviors. And I'm a big believer that behaviors can change. So I'm not sure. I don't think those are facts. I think that she has OCD and anxiety is a thought. And I probably a lot of people are going to argue with me. I just believe that maybe we label it anxiety because it just makes it easier for us to talk about it. And that's perfectly legitimate. But she doesn't have anxiety. She couldn't have a blood test and have them come out and say, oh, she's got anxiety. Now, maybe she could do an MRI scan of her brain, and the amygdala looks a little different from a non-autistic brain. Okay, that makes sense. There's some biochemical, neurobiological differences there. That we can make a fact. But has anxiety? I just want us to pause and say, we see a lot of anxious behaviors would be more of the thought that I would find helpful. Pushing her results in shutdown and regression makes perfect sense. I understand that's a good description of what happens. I still want to remind us that that's not the fact. The fact is the daughter. This is our thought about her. And that was cool, but you aren't going to make me go, that's a fact. That's actually a fact because it's a quote. We could have taken a video of her that day and proven it to the entire world that she said those words. Now the question is, how are we going to choose to think about it? Should I just calm down and continue to hope something will catch her interest enough one day? So I'd change this from that's obviously a thought, and I would just change it from a question to, I wonder if I should just calm down. That wonder creates curiosity in our bodies. And I suggest that maybe modifying that thought just a tiny bit might help our mom get to a few more thoughts and a few more actions, and an emotion of curiosity will always inspire lots of different options. She has her permit. Now that's a fact. She could produce the permit and she can drive, and that's a fact. We can take a video of her driving, but driving scares her. Okay. That is still part of the story, right? What did she do when she was driving? Did she, pull over the side of the road and breathe heavy and not be able? That would be more of the fact. And then, of course, our thought would be, this is really scary for her. And I keep hoping in time that she'll want to try that. That definitely is a thought for our mom. And should I be looking at SSDI, SSDI, or SSI? That's a good question. Let's turn it into a statement of, I wonder if I should be looking at SSDI, because that's going to drive that curiosity again. If we just add wonder at the beginning of a lot of our sentences, it inspires the curiosity that drives some actions of doing some research, or making a list of the things that need to be considered, which is a very productive way of looking at some of these. But it's so hard knowing what to do, or I'm so confused. That's a version of I don't know. And I don't know, frankly, I was stuck in that for a number of years, and it produced a depression dip. I don't recommend that sentence. I think I don't know, frankly, is a lie. I proved that to myself because I did know the very next action to take in my life. But thinking I don't know produced this confusion, which just made me, depressed and anxious and not willing to try anything. I mean, I could feel that depression, the weight, the anxiety, the churning inside of my chest and my stomach in particular. It just sort of made my intestinal tract go into knots. I don't recommend that sentence, and I would suggest that when we hear ourselves say that, we need to say, in our own heads, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. I don't know exactly, but I'm going to figure it out. There's got to be a better way to that's my recommended way, at least, to take that sentence. Having been there and done that, I found that works better for me. I want to be doing all I can to help her lead a fulfilling life. We really need to look at that sentence. I want to be doing all I can to help her lead a fulfilling life. Okay, that's all right. But it sounds like when I hear that sentence is that you've taken on most of the burden of creating a life that she loves, that works. And parents, everybody, this will not work. We cannot fix what needs to be done now. Okay, here's what's happening. They're transitioning from school, where a lot of things were defined by them and us, by school and us. And that, got them through because what was expected was clearly defined. I mean, they had to pass in order to get a diploma, and we needed to make sure that they showed up and all that. So it was pretty clearly defined. Now that they're moving into young adulthood, all the expectations are up in the air. They don't have a defined roadmap. I mean, we know already that the roadmap that someone without an autistic brain follows does not work for our children. We need to come up with an original roadmap that works just right with our autistic young adult together. We don't know the answers anymore. Only they know what the answers are that are right for them. And we can do our best to encourage, to warn, and to be there to be consulted. That's our role as parents of young adults. And I want to encourage all of us to take that monkey, and I have him here on my desk just to remind me, with his little tag still attached. I'm not sure why I did that, but anyway, my daughter gave this to me one Christmas. But to take the monkey from our back and put it, at least share it with our autistic young adults, because we cannot solve this problem for them. They have to solve the problem of how do they create a life that works, that they love, by themselves, for themselves. So now that, that's in the wrong place. Okay, no, here I am back. All right, so this is what we do in the art of adulting. And so let's just figure out the third stage, again, borrowing Barb Avila's understand, connect, and then practice formula that she lays out beautifully in her book, Seeing Autism. Let's agree on what it is that we're aiming for here. We are aiming for this definition of adulting, practicing the set of mental skills or mental tools that help us manage our thoughts, emotions, and actions so we can achieve goals set by us for us. This is what we want our autistic young adult to do, is to decide what they want and go for it and create it for themselves. Every little inchworming step, one thing at a time, at a pace that works for them. So they build up those victory experiences where they got it, they did it, they build those up, which helps to build their confidence. And that confidence is really important in their motivation because they may really want something, but if they don't have the confidence that they can go get it, the part of motivation that drives them will be diminished. And we want that. We want that for them. So, how do we do this? I highly recommend that we follow Dr. Ross Green's proactive collaborative problem solving process. And I'll link to his website in the notes, livesinthebalance.org, because in the transcript, because he nailed it. What we do is we look at the situation and we agree on what the facts are. Then we listen to our autistic young adults with all of their thoughts and their feelings. And that listen shows them respect, because this process has to really respect who they are, and it helps them feel seen, safe, and soothed so that they are secure in the relationship with us and then can transfer that secure feeling to the outside world. So important that we follow this process. And then we remind ourselves that all we have to do is get 1% better each day on each of the 10 domains in their lives. And inside the Art of Adulting, I explain how we break life down into 10 mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive domains so that we can work on one part of life at a time, one step at a time. That's how it's going to work. It is, because if we just, take it apart and decide who we want to be, and we help our autistic, as parents, we want to be their good coach, their best coach we can be, and our autistic young adults get to decide what their identity is, and then, okay, now that we've decided that, what are our expectations in each of the 10 domains? And that's what we do inside of the Art of Adulting. We take the identity, what virtues are most important to our autistic young adults so that they're consistent with who they want to be. That's really important, because who we want to be is the person whose expectations we most want to meet our own. That's whose expectations are that we most want to meet. And when we don't, that can lead to depression. And then how do we manage our mind? Use our mind to train our brain to work harder for us, to steer toward our destination instead of going off in the weeds and spending all of our time in false pleasures like watching YouTube and playing games and eating and all of the things that our brain says are necessary for us to survive, but they used to be in caveman times. They're not today. So we need to steer our brains. We can't let it operate on default. Then what actions do we need to do? And those actions are so important that we take those one step at a time. And then, actually, I think the definition on the slide is reversed. And then we listen first to understand each other, because we know that we cannot succeed alone. And then we proactively problem solve together to create predictable incremental progress, one step at a time. So please join me at the Art of Adulting. You'll find the transcript and resources that I've mentioned in this video at my website /blog. I would love to see you there, and I cannot wait to meet you, because we've had to figure this out. We have 6 children, ages 22 to 52, and 3 have been diagnosed with autism. So we've been down this road, and we're figuring it out one step at a time. And I'd love to do that with you as well. Bye for now.